Hey guys, it's been a while. So as you may or may not be aware, a while back I made a series of videos on the band Skid Row that went viral. They were pretty well received by the public, my opinions were fair and honest. But unfortunately, some of the members of Skid Row didn't like what I had to say when it came to their career in their later years. And so the company that represents their intellectual property illegally striked the videos in an effort to take them down, and succeeded. In my opinion, this was a blatant abuse of status to silence the little guy, all because they can't handle the truth. Eventually, the word got back to Eddie Trunk, and this is what he had to say on the situation.
And pick up the calls with Dave in Orlando. Hi, Dave.
Eddie, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Dave.
All right, cool. I emailed you not too long ago about the decline of Skid Row documentaries on YouTube that my buddy in Ireland did. I sent you the parts that were pulled from YouTube. I was just wondering, did you get a chance to see them and the Sebastian one? And do you think the band had anything to do with pulling them down just because they had a little criticism of their latest lineups?
Dave, I remember those emails. I haven't looked in my email inbox lately, but I had asked you for the links to see the ones that he did that weren't up anymore. You sent those to me?
Yes, sir.
Let me
I can resend them to you.
I'm going to pull up my email right now. I haven't looked in that email folder in a while, but I'm pulling it up now and I'll have a look. But no, I didn't. I'm just looking to see. When did you send them?
Last week, maybe? Let me see.
I'm just checking. If you get a chance, Dave, if you can resend the links, they may have gotten lost somehow along the way because I was looking out for them because I was looking forward to seeing them.
March 30th, I sent them.
Oh, yeah, I definitely didn't see him, Dave. If you have him handy, if you could resend him, I'd love to watch him. I don't know what happened there. And, now that you think about it, like I said, I spent a lot of time talking to Snake the other day, and I would have had no problem bringing it up to him. But I can tell you this, I think, and I haven't seen the subsequent one, so I don't know where he was going with things, but I think part of the problem is the title. I mean, you can't blame a band for being a little upset when a fan does a documentary and it's titled "The Decline of," and obviously to most bands, no matter how fans feel, to most bands they don't like to be perceived that way. Now, that's not to say the band had anything to do with pulling it down. I honestly don't know. Because I don't know, I would not think they would police things like that, but maybe. But I think that, like I said in the email to you or your friend, I think where the only problematic aspect of it that I saw, if I was in the band's shoes, is the title, what he decided to call it.
Mm-hmm. I just think it was fairly, criticized of the latest lineups and the different singers and stuff, and their albums didn't go down too well in the direction they went. I just thought it was pretty fairly sad,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, and thanks, Dave, for the call. I just got to move on because I got a lot of calls. But what Dave is referencing is there's a guy, somebody in Ireland. Dave obviously has an Irish accent there, so maybe he's originally from Ireland, but it sounds like he is. But I guess a friend of his made a YouTube documentary series, and it was called something like "The Rise and Decline of Skid Row." And I watched the first one, and I thought it was really good because it was really in-depth. Like, it started with Skid Row before they had Sebastian, and then it went through finding Sebastian and all stuff that I was around for and saw. So I was really interested in seeing it. And then apparently, according to the guy who did it, the fan that did it, somebody that represents Skid Row's intellectual property or something had it pulled off the internet and pulled off YouTube because they claimed that it was an infringement or something like that. I don't know anything about that, but I can tell you the problem, as I mentioned, is the guy titled it something like "The Rise and Fall or Decline of." And look, no matter how you feel as a fan, I don't care what band you're talking about, no band wants to be positioned or billed or talked about as like their best days are behind them and they're no good anymore with their current lineup. And, there are bands that would understandably push back on that and be sensitive to that. Now, whether that was the case there, I don't know. But what I said to the guy on email when he sent it to me, and he referenced the fact that I mentioned that I liked it, and I thought I only watched the first part, and I did. But I said, I think the problem you have here is what you titled it. Would have been better served if he just titled it like The Story of Skid Row or The History of Skid Row. But I think by talking about it as the decline and positioning it as if what they do now is not relevant or any good, whether you feel that way or not, is not something that people would like put out there. Look, the bottom line is this. Every one of these bands from the 80s, almost all of them don't have all original members. Many of them don't have the original singer. I mean, it's a blanket thing across the board. I think I would say for most of the 80s bands, the average amount of original members is maybe about half, if that. So they're certainly not the only band that deals with that, but obviously the guy they had in the band originally in Sebastian was a larger-than-life character and voice and frontman that still continues to cast a big shadow. I mean, nobody's stupid. Everybody knows that. But most bands, you know, they want people to feel good about what they're doing now. They're trying to build something now. They're trying to reestablish with somebody new. And, you know, did they pull it? I honestly don't know. It could have been a copyright thing, but I believe that the title was the issue there and what he decided to call it. That's how I would have seen it, at least. Here's Chris in Fort Worth, Texas.
So I think Eddie made a fair few good points as to why my Skid Row videos could have been censored. So now that you've heard, you know, what he had to say unedited, I'm going to address each of his points. So straight out the gate, Eddie, I want to make something very clear. And that was where I was going with the videos. It was never meant to be a hit piece. In a nutshell, I wanted to give Skid Row the best behind the music type video series I could make, and in the process of doing so, I wanted to try and figure out why they went from arenas to small venues, because all the generic reasons I heard over the years didn't really make much sense to me, especially when you look at the height of their fame. They should have been untouchable. I wanted to be brutally honest about the good, bad and ugly of their career. I didn't want to sugarcoat anything, and shouldn't have had to. They rose to fame and then lost that fame. That's an unfortunate fact. That's why I called the series The Decline of Skid Row, and it still unfortunately remains a fact, whether I title it so or not. So when Dave sent me the first recording of Eddie Trunk praising my first Skid Row video on his radio show, I was under the impression that he was keeping up with the series, as he had left comments on some of my other videos as well. I'm pretty sure this is his YouTube channel, but if it's not, that's my bad. So that's a mistake on my part anyway. So if Eddie Trunk hasn't seen all the videos, yeah, definitely that's a mistake on my part. I did say in one of my more recent videos that he had seen them all, but I guess he hasn't. So yeah. He has been sent the links to the rest of the series, so as of recording this video, I don't know if he has watched the rest of them yet, but I'll leave links to the videos again in this description. Although my critiques of Thick Skin, Revolutions Per Minute and Solinger in episode 3 were brutal, they were accurate and honest. I do to a point think I could have worded what I said about Solinger a little nicer, but it needed to be said regardless of how I said it. Sebastian is an iconic singer and he set the bar for what Skid Row should have been reaching for. Even if they wanted to go in a different musical direction, they replaced him with someone who wasn't fit for the job. That's also a fact. However, I don't think whatever they do in the future will be no good or not good enough. Now that they have ZP, the sky's the limit. That guy's an amazing frontman. I've seen him live. He's a fucking phenomenal singer, and I hope that they make a great album with him in the future. Skid Row had every right not to like what I said. They had every right to leave a dislike or a comment expressing their distaste. They even could have DM'd me and asked me to take the series down, which I probably would have been more receptive to. They even had the choice to address it publicly, but they chose to pick a corrupt company that chose an illegal course of action to silence me. It doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. If you go onto Aviator's website, Skid Row is in their list of artists, and if you go onto their main page of what they specialise in, it says management of artist approved AV content, monetization of user generated content, and where required, blocking of undesired videos. What they leave out of that statement is that they manually abuse the copyright system on YouTube, bullying small creators like myself all the time. A few seconds off a video here, a minute there. They couldn't give a rat's because they know the system is rigged in their favour, and what's a small creator like me gonna do about it, right? So what I think happened was one of the members of the band seen the videos. They seen the first two and went, "Hey, this is pretty fucking cool," you know, because I went through their history and stuff, and it was all pretty good. And then we get to episode 3 where the career took a bit of a nosedive for a while, and they were like, "Oh shit, this is pretty bad." Um, and then from there on, I think they got onto the Aviator guys and said, "Hey, we need you to take these down. We don't like what he's saying, so can you silence that, please?" And that's basically, I think, what happened. Like I said, it doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. I've had a bit of time to think about it, and that is what happened. No denying it. Like, logically, that's what happened. So yeah. My series should have been protected under fair use as it fits the criteria for fair use. Every video clip and song that I used, I believe I legally am allowed to use, so Skid Row really have no right to censor me in this manner, regardless of whether or not they liked what I said or not. Also, they are public figures, subject to criticism. I'm not a public figure. I didn't deserve to be silenced. From what I found on the internet and my own sources in the music industry, this is typical of what Aviator does. They are nothing more than a joke in my opinion. I just think it's ridiculous that sites like Metal Sludge are allowed to run slanderous, damaging stories, but when an actual fan tells the god honest truth about what he feels, he's shut up. That's fucking wrong. It's cowardly and it goes against everything Youth Gone Wild stands for. And if this experience has taught me anything, it's that maybe Sebastian wasn't the problem like he's been made out to be. For what it's worth though, I am genuinely sorry for any hurt feelings my videos may have caused. The original Skid Row lineup are my idols, and I never wanted them not to like me, but it is what it is, I guess. I'm going to soldier on regardless. Eventually, when I do get back to making videos, I'm going to complete my series on Sebastian Bach. I do wish Skid Row the very best moving forward, and I hope that they are more receptive to the fans' opinions moving forward as well. You should listen to your fans. We buy the albums and the tickets to your shows, and at the end of the day, good opinions, bad opinions, whatever, we only want the best for you. That's all I want. Even if you don't like me, I want to see you do well, You're not going to do well ignoring us and silencing things that you don't want to hear, just because it might be hard to take. So Eddie, I really appreciate you giving your 2 cents on what you think of the whole thing and promoting the video and everything. I really appreciate that. And at the end of the day, I'm happy. My videos did better than I ever could have expected. Thousands of people seeing them, and I'm grateful. And if nothing else, Skid Row know who I am, so mission accomplished, really. So yeah, I wish everybody the best of luck, and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you again in maybe a few weeks or months, and I will have a couple of new videos in store for you. So stay tuned.